Welcome everyone, I'm Data Prestio and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 12. Alright, as I've been hinting in my previous videos, especially the summoning video, I did actually update the box. I replaced Hilda with Lightbringer, and I replaced Helena with Auden Kelmo, or Adake Elmo. I dropped Helena because the situation with Helena, I really like Helena's kit. Like, as a cav unit, she's a cav unit that can go through a lot of terrain, can set up her own terrain, and I like the extra like AoE and unique debuffs, the equipment debuff type stuff she does. But the situation with Helena is this: it's either my opponent has a tank and or Rosen Seal, which kind of shuts down her thing, or my opponent bans her, in which case I just don't really get a use out of her. And she's not even like a priority ban in those situations either, and she's not a priority pick for me either. So I decided to go ahead and drop her for someone that can do possibly a bit more. And then I wanted to use Lightbringer instead of Hilda, because Hilda, of course, Hilda's a really great tank. She has a lot of good things in her kit. Her faction buff is great, but her faction buff is only for one faction, while Lightbringer can work with anyone that's holy. So as long as I set up units as holy, I can use them, which gives me a lot more flexibility in the box in general. So that definitely helps out. So as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holy units, and they're all pretty primary holy units to begin with. They're ones I tend to pick if I can get them. There were also some other minor changes to the box, but I'm not going to go into those unless they apply. My opponent, I'm currently still in Silver 3, so going to be experiencing some warm-up fights for this new box. So we got Azul Space Wolf. There's no question this is a rush box. There are no tanks, no healers. They have multiple ways of getting characters additional mobility. You got Emperor Lavina with teleports. You got Kaya with her mobility buff and attack buff. You got Ironblood with her mobility and attack buff. You have this dancer lady that I never remember the name of. She can also do some shifting shenanigans. And then you've got Luna, who can also provide a sort of move cost negation aura. So yeah, a lot of things to get people across the map. It's a mixture of single target and AoE as far as the rush is concerned. Alright, I am player 1 for once, which is kind of helpful. My opponent immediately banned Auden Kelmo, either because she's the new character on the block, or that my opponent may have already encountered someone using this character and knows very well what she can do. So I went ahead and banned Wedem. I did have some flexibility here, because I have Rosen Seal still, so I was going to be opening with her anyway, and Wedem becomes far less dangerous when you have Rosen Seal, because the Crystal Healing can make it so keep you topped off so he can't do his wounded enemy teleportation nonsense. But I went ahead and banned him anyway, because honestly everything else was kind of the same threat or less, and combinations of like a Kaya and Luna can make it so Wedem can actually cover the entire map in a single turn, so I definitely didn't want to promote that. So I went ahead and banned him, and I'm going to go ahead and grab Rosen Seal, who is Holy Class, as I mentioned I think last week. Banning my assassins, at this point it's really just long legs and long range, because they don't have tanks to begin with. They opened with Elwyn. At this point I got rid of their assassins for the most part, got rid of Epsilon, got rid of their Sherry, grabbed Lightbringer. So finally a little bit of a change up from my usual 1, 2, 3, where I used to just do Rosen Seal, Ironblood into Sylvaria. Well, my Sylvaria is banned in the first place, but I went ahead and grabbed Lightbringer. I really wanted to test her out and see how she does. She is only 5 stars, so I'm a little concerned about tanking things, but I wanted to try her out and see how she does. Also, just with how I have things set up, depending on what I get to pick, I may have some flexibility as far as faction buffs are concerned. My opponent went ahead and banned my long-range casters, grabs a Kaya, so yeah, they're all in on this rushing. Went Went ahead and banned some of their casters. Like I said, I wasn't too sure how well Lightbringer was going to tank things, so I definitely wanted to deal with characters that spellcasters, because spellcasters tend to do a lot more damage. I think Lightbringer actually has decent magic defense, but I'm going to be going Phalanx troops just to try to protect against Elwyn here, so I definitely did not want to deal with any additional magic damage. I did grab Sherry. It's one of the few times I've been allowed to pick Sherry and actually have a good opportunity to use her. Sherry, in my earlier box, would have been a later pick anyway, because I didn't really have a way of buffing her reliably. But with Lightbringer, I can buff her with the Holy Faction buff, or I can use Strengthen. Went ahead and banned my act again, banned Zerida. I was tempted to drop Zerida instead of Helena, but Zerida is somewhat still threatening, at least at this tier. I definitely will be replacing her next month and replacing her with better Zerida. Got Rosalia here, so another heavy single target hitter. Went ahead and banned their Alicia, banned their Dancer Lady that I don't remember the name of. Actually, give me a moment. Ashamir, that's her name. The Dancer Lady's name is Ashamir. Alright, I went ahead and grabbed Ironblood Commander, which means I have 4 holy characters, which is great. They went ahead and banned some of my assassins at this point. And they went ahead and grabbed Michelle. Michelle's not too dangerous in this box because I have Roth and Seal, and I don't really have anyone that's cavalry. Went ahead and, at this point I had some flexibility of who to pick. Luna would have provided more additional mobility and possibly a magic damage reduction aura, but if they opt for a second support character for that, I'm fine with that, because Luna by herself can't do anything, especially Flyer. And then the rest of them were, you got 2 options for AoEs. I was a bit more concerned about Clotaire, since he can cover distance a lot better than Sanctus of the Ark. And I was a little concerned about Sanctus of the Ark because she does have things that can do weird things against holy units, but she doesn't cover ground as well, and her transformation mechanic is actually pretty cumbersome. And then, of course, Emperor Lavina, I wasn't sure how hard he hits, and I didn't want to deal with his teleporting shenanigans, so I went ahead and dropped him. And I went ahead and grabbed Kagura here. So this actually was a really good setup here for me. They were especially since they grabbed Luna. Because with this, I have 4 holy units that could be buffed by Lightbringer, and then Kagura doesn't really need defensive buffs, and she can buff herself with 3C. So I'm pretty much good to go here. This also means I don't have to bring a buff for Ironblood Commander, so I went with Commander's Ferocity with her. Kagura, I went with Griffin Knights. I believe in the previous fight I had her with Angels, but my opponent literally only has 1 magic user, and that's Akaya, and this Akaya went with Vampire Bats. So even though she does have her 3C is going to just be her attacking and not the Vampire Bats. So yeah, I went with Griffin Knights, just to make sure I had different classes for her armor. And I didn't want to risk bringing Unicorns because of Michelle. Resin Seal, I didn't need to bring a faction buff, so I didn't. So I went and brought single target healing just in case. Lightbringer, I brought Phalanx troops. Got Discipline with 3C, and then I brought Light Flow for just some extra mirror stacks. And then Sherry, I opted for Griffin Knights, and then I went with Lightning, Raging Storm, and then Gallop. My opponent here, Elwyn, was actually a pretty decent pick since it faction buffed everyone but Luna. But other than that, it's just a standard kit with unicorns. Kaya here, it's act again to trigger exclusive, so I can use wild power to buff everyone's movement and attack. And then Spirit Tremble for just some extra attack. Michelle here, it's pretty much my kit, except as she opted for Royal Protectors for the troops. I don't know why. I'm guessing the Royal Protector is just to try to fend off Kagura, but I'm not sure. And then pretty much the same kit I go with, except instead of the line AoE I use, it went with Chrono Stab, which I think has shorter range, but I think it does more damage and it can displace, but it doesn't have any way of reducing cooldown. And then Rosalia, which I assumed this one had Chivalry for the extra mobility, but this one does not. Went Silver Spear, Sword of Protection, 3C with Holy Pegasus, and then the Luna here went with Holy Pegasus as well. Luna here has 3C with wind pressure and faction buff. The faction buff herself. For the most part, she is not. Her only purpose is for the 3C. So yeah, so they opted for Holy Pegasus, which are not particularly great for. Well, they're okay for attacking if you just want to ensure that you survive, because they reduce the damage taken by quite a bit. Usually you use things like Holy Pegasus in certain PvE battles where the boss monster just counterattacks for so much damage that you need a way to attack and still survive. So that's the reason why you use Holy Pegasus. You usually don't use it in PvP because you need to maximize your troop damage as much as possible to ensure you get kill. But I don't know, my opponent may not have those troops built and prefers this or whatnot, I don't know. In any case, let's go ahead and dive right in. Opening with 3C right off the bat. This will buff everyone except for Kagura, and expand her guard range. As for the displacement, Lightbringer is immune to displacement thanks to her 3C. The rest of my units can be pushed around though, because I don't have the Hilda buff anymore. Or Hilda Aura. So yeah, Luna moved in, got set up. And this will provide, make it so going through this aura is essentially 2 free steps of movement. That alone doesn't really put anyone within range. But that on top of Akaya's mobility buff will definitely make it so they can cover the map. I'm not sure. Depending on how far that aura is going, if she has the exclusive helmet, Ellen might be able to reach right now, but that's not that big of a deal. So I went ahead and did my formation buff. So now Kagura and Sherry both got some additional mobility. Sherry got 1 mobility, Kagura and Ironblood both got +2 mobility. With this, I can actually hit Luna if I want to. I kind of had to resist the urge to do so because killing Luna, while it definitely would shut down the initial rush, or initial potential rush, Luna by herself doesn't do shit, and sacrificing one of my 3 DPS in exchange for their support is not a good trade in my opinion. I think I still would have came out on top as far as trades were concerned, but it would have been a much messier fight, I felt. So yeah, act again to go ahead and trigger exclusive to summon a wolf, then use the wolf to activate the buff. So plus 30% attack and intelligence and +2 mobility to all everyone. So as you can see, they can already reach me. I opted for Miracle here. I wanted to get some crystal barriers up. I also wanted to get as many buffs as possible onto Lightbringer just in case Elwyn attacks. Because Elwyn can dispel 5 buffs. I right now have 2 stacks of Mirror Lights, so those would go off first, leaving 3 dispels remaining. Miracle provides 2 buffs, 2 separate buffs, while the crystal healing only provides 1. So I just wanted to maximize the chance of not having my guard dispelled. So summon the Shadow Clone. Does Chronostat. It pushes back Resin Seal. Ironblood was blocked by Lightbringer because Lightbringer could not be nudged. So yeah, like I said, I'm playing it a bit slow here, and I shifted up because I was playing it by ear. Because if I went and killed Luna at any point, both Elwind and Rosalia would have just be able to just dive in and finish off Kagura. So. And I didn't have a way of following up with Sherry at the time, so that's why I shifted up to here. That'll give her a lot more options as far as following up. And of course, Ironblood was already active at that point anyway, so I have initiative, so I might as well just take advantage of it and just take it slow. So yeah, my opponent opted to not rush in, so at this point I was like, okay. So I had a few options of who to attack with first. Sherry's would have been risky. I wasn't sure how. It's been a while since I've fought a Luna, and usually Luna would probably have some sort of armor that gives last rites or whatever. Michelle's in Forest, and so I'm not sure how tanky she is. She actually has 822 defense, which is actually pretty high, and this is 742 defense as well. Yeah, these are pretty bulky characters. If I got kill. Actually, yeah, I couldn't even go after Luna. The only option I would have had was to go after Michelle. And if I did not get kill on Michelle, I would not be able to act again. If I did, I would be able to follow up, which will be awesome. So, and then I did have Iron Blood. She does technically do magic damage by herself. And then Luna, of course, negates 30% magic damage. So I was like, whatever, we'll do Kagura. If there's anyone that could definitely one-shot someone, it would be Kagura. So yeah. Wasn't hungry, so I definitely stunned and then just immediately killed. And now my opponent has to deal with this. So, goes Ultimate Judgment. Negates the debuff, so I'm actually able to counter here. Otherwise I would have made my range 0. Alright, pretty brutal kill there. So at this point I was like, alright, well, I'm not that concerned about Michelle, but let's go ahead and get rid of her anyway. So 3C. Dispelled all of her buffs just about. It looks like she had her exclusive, which is nice. Alright, this is when I realized their Akaya didn't actually have ranged troops. Oh, wait, they actually attack. Never mind. I didn't realize. I forgot that the 3C includes troops. Unfortunately, vampire bats are not very good for attacking. And I was, of course, in 30% defensive terrain. So went ahead and waited. A big mistake my opponent made here was not using his move again. He didn't need the move again by itself, but the move again he does makes it so he's immune to debuffs, which is pretty important. Because now I can do this. He's just out of range, so he does get his self-res. So I'm going to do Raging Storm. So I definitely get kill. He'll self-res, and then I stun him. And then I can use my act again to go straight to go ahead and finish off Rosalia. I think I should have... Let's see. I'm just seeing what my options here were. Okay, yeah, no matter where I moved, I would have been within range of Akaya. Okay, so it didn't really matter. So a little out of position with Lightbringer and Rosenseal here. So we're just going to kind of nudge our way forward. But at this point, even if they kill the rest of my DPS... Yeah, can't do it. I hits first before Cav does. Does give a heal to hit to Ellen there. So I move in, get my free hit in here. Of course, that thing triggers, so you got some additional healing. So I came just short of kill there, which kind of sucks. But I'm now within guard range, and I'm able to heal. So Spirit trembles because of the totem, but I have clip crystal stacks, so no big deal there. So again, I think my opponent didn't realize that you need to move more steps. If my opponent moved more steps, he probably would have healed. He would have healed a lot more and possibly got first strike, and probably would have lived. Of course, it wouldn't really matter at that point because then I would just kill with Sherry, or go and deal with Akaya. But yeah, that was kind of a blunder there. So my opponent gave up at that point. So there you go. Got to see Sherry for once, and of course showed off Lightbringer, which she didn't really do anything besides faction buff, but that's all she really needs to do. Alright, so still in Silver 3. I think winning a match in Silver 3 gives like 35 or 40 points. And I had the win from last week, and then the win from just the previous fight. So winning this match will get me to Silver 2. Again, my opponent immediately banned out of Kelmo. As for my opponent here, Knight of Mystery. Haven't seen her in forever. See a Rian, which is someone I don't want to see again, but he's here. My opponent has 4 tanks and 2 healers. No, sorry, 3 healers. Yeah, 3 healers, 4 tanks, and then a mixture of AoE and assassins. So it's a bulky mix box to say the least. So they banned Elton Kelmo. At this point, I didn't actually ban Wedham. I banned Epsilon first because he was going to be a bigger problem for me. Grab Rose and Seal. They start banning my Sherry and Iron Blood. And I grab their Sherry. I went ahead and banned their Act Again healer and then got rid of Lucretia and grabbed Lightbringer. They banned some of my casters. They grab Elwen. At this point, I get rid of Wedham, get rid of their mobility and attack blessings. Grab Silvaria. Start banning some more of my assassins. And I grab Rose and Seal, which I was fine with. And so at this point, I went ahead and banned. I banned Hilda because she can fully negate a crit. Got rid of Rian because he does quite a bit of really annoying debuffs and hits pretty hard. Went ahead and grabbed Pyrotes. They banned my remaining healer. Got rid of Kagura. I grabbed their Landius. I went ahead and got rid of pretty much the rest of their AoE and left them with 2 tanks. Went ahead and grabbed Alicia just for some mobility shenanigans. Tsubame was actually kind of an interesting pick because there's not really much AoE in this box. The only AoE is potentially Rose and Seal and possibly Juggler, which they did grab Juggler. Alright, so this box is a little messier as far as buffing is concerned. The Holy Faction buff really only affects Lightbringer and Rose and Seal, so I did bring my Empire Faction buff, which only affects Rose and Seal and Silvaria. And then Lightbringer, I opted to bring her Strengthen, which can give at least an attack buff to 1 unit. The only catch, of course, is I can't really set up with it because I need to spend a round bringing up the 3C because it brings up guard. And then, for the most part, we got Pyrotes with Force Night Elves, usual stuff, you know, Quick Step, 3C, Slice Stride. We already talked about Rose and Seal, standard kit with Shrine Maidens. Silvaria, I went ahead and brought in her Order of the Guardian just in case. But other than that, she's all about the sniping. Lightbringers, again, I want Phalanx. My opponent is all physical, so besides the unicorns, of course. So I was completely fine with that. And then Alicia with Firebrand Snipers with the usual kit. So yeah, I was going to play this one pretty aggressively. The only concern was possibly Juggler teleporting next to my tank. So I went ahead and opted for getting Miracle right off the bat. So my opponent mimicked me. So I moved in and did a 3C. So at this point, my opponent could potentially teleport right next to Lightbringer, but obviously I would just follow up and kill. So that's probably why my opponent didn't just opt to do that immediately. Alright, Landius faction buffs himself. I didn't even look at... Oh yeah, I didn't even look at their kits. Sorry about that. Standard kit for Elwen. One thing I did note is that this opponent only had level 67 for their Thor. Whenever you finish doing your formations, you'll actually get to see on the side what their what covenant they have. And they had Thor, which is what I have, but mine's maxed out. And so it's possible my opponent here is not fully decked out. But I think that I'm pretty safe to say that probably all of their units are probably 6 stars. I mean, 2 of them are SP classes, which means you probably have to. I think you have to be 6 stars for the SP classes. I don't remember. In any case, Elwen, Juggler here went AoEs pretty much 3C. Did bring the tank passive. Werewolves. Sherry did bring Shadow Raid just in case. I don't know if Sherry would be able to get killed by herself. I think she can. Against some of my assassins, they're pretty squishy. Rose and Seal went full heals with 3C. Went sorceresses for the troops. And then Landia's here, standard kit. You know, faction buff with his guard and unflinching with Golden Knights as the troops. Right. So yeah, at this point I went ahead and moved in just to ensure that no teleport shenanigans can happen. Alright, I did take one step forward and set up for sniping. I have no attack buff at the moment. Right now I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I can actually go for Elwyn or Rosenseal right now. The only thing I'm a little wary of course, is I don't have an attack buff. But I'm hoping I could still do enough damage with crit. But Sherry moved in, gave me another GC target. And I have initiative, so I was completely okay with this. Yep, barely even hurts me. And no debuff. He is immune to fixed damage. So yeah, so my choices were Elwyn's kind of a potential target, but he does have more HP and more defense than Sherry. Sherry does have the helmet that gives her a heal after the fixed damage proc. And then Rosenseal I can definitely kill, but honestly I'm not that concerned about her healing because I have assassins. So I went for Sherry, and she's just going to heal up. I don't know if she had last rites. Still did pretty good damage with crit, and it was enough to get kill. Alright, so at this point there's just Juggler. And he's gonna do Master of Ice. And that's it. That's Juggler there. His the B shock that his 3C gave is now worn off. So he literally has nothing. Landius did move in to go ahead and, I'm guessing, just to guard Juggler here. I think the idea here was to try to block me off with tanks and then just tank with Rosenseal. But I don't know, I guess my opponent was not familiar with how Alicia works. Alicia can move through units. And so with this, I moved through, did the move again. I was just maximizing my damage here. So 25,000, give or take. Yeah, that's a lot more than that. And there you go, so all my opponent now has is a healer and 2 tanks. And with assassins, I was guaranteed to be able to kill Rosenseal. And there you go. Quick and simple match. And with that, I am now Silver 2. I may do some more matches later today, or, well, today in my time. Because, like I said, I just want to mess around with this new box as much as possible while the characters are still fresh and people are still trying to figure out what place they're going to be in the rankings. So yeah, I may try to opt to go for Silver 1 this week at the very least, but we'll see. You guys will know once the video comes out, I guess. So until then, I'm the Depressed Hero. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 12. I'll see you guys later.